The next step is assigning fixed costs. All right, this is step 13. What I want to do here is, first of all, insert a column called cost. I want to know at a glance what the cost of various tasks in the projects are. So what you could do here is you could right-click notes, for example. You could insert a column. You could press C and bring in the cost column. Now, when I see the cost column, Project always likes to left align everything, which is really nutso considering their numerical values. So I'm going to go Gantt chart format and I'm going to right align what's in that column. In fact, I'm going to right align what's in the finish column, the start column, because they're dates, and the duration column. I'm a little bit like Excel. I like my numbers to the right and my text to the left. Immediately I can see the total cost, and that's derivative of the number of resources and costs I've been putting against these various tasks. Let me now double click my timescale and take that down to 50 like we started with, so I can see more on the screen. I've got my cost column. Now, as far as fixed costs go, if you're not dealing with assigning resources to tasks, you could just go in here and just type your costs in. So if I had a $1,000 invoice for that particular row 8, I could just put $1,000 in here, and that would increase my total to $76,000. If I take it back down to 0, you'll see it drop back down again. So you could just do it that way. But if you have assigned resources, like the resource cost for those 10 electricians is $32,500. If I then get a subcontractor as well, so let me go here and also assign a subcontractor, which is Acme Plumbing. So I've assigned them also now to that task. If I now have a $1,000 invoice from them, then I've got to add the two in my head, so $33,500. And there's a downside with that because you've got to do it manually. So I'll put it back to $32,500. So that's when you'd insert the fixed cost column for putting your invoices in, and they would then get added automatically by project to your resource cost to give you your total cost. So I'm going to right click and insert column and hit F for fixed cost. And there it is there. I'm going to right align it so it's there. And so then if I did assign Acme Plumbing to that task, which is already $32,500 because of the electrician, I just put $1,000 in here as a fixed cost. That gets added to that, which then gets added to that, which then gets added to that. So it goes across and up. So, and if I take it back down to 0, you see it goes back down again. I could also rename this. So this column here, I could right click it, or I can go up to here and choose column settings, field settings. But I'm more likely to just right click and go field settings, and I'll call this column invoices. So you can give all of these columns in your template more meaningful names that fit your business model, terms that people understand. So I'm going to call it invoices and OK. So now they know to enter the invoices in here. So if I got a $1,000 invoice for that because of Acme Plumbing, and then if I assigned Acme Plumbing to this task, Acme Plumbing, and they sent me an invoice for $5,000, I can chuck that in there, which goes across to there, which goes up to that summary, which goes up to that summary. Unfortunately, it doesn't go up to the summary task level in the invoices column. That's been a problem since version 1 of Project. I've been waiting for decades for that to be resolved, and it still hasn't. So don't expect that to happen. You'll only be disappointed. Okay, so let's do that. So insert the column invoices, I think, which is actually really, if I go into right-click field setting, is actually really called fixed cost. So that means that some of these other columns we could rename, like task name. I could right-click that and go into field settings and actually say, well, really, I want this to be called job number or job name, because that makes sense to this business. I might decide that I need another column, which maybe is the supervisor or priority or client. There's columns that you want to add to your template that Project doesn't provide, but you can create your own columns and you can add them to your template. So let's do a couple of examples. I might right click, say duration, doesn't matter which column I right click, and I'll go into custom fields. You can also go that custom fields there, but I'll go custom fields. Now these are spare text fields, but there's also spare cost fields. and spare date fields. All sorts of spares that you can use, but I'll go with text. And maybe I want to text one column, and maybe I'll rename it, and I'll call it, I will call it manager, and okay. If I just went okay now, then I'll have created a column called manager where I can just type whatever I want. It's got no special attributes. It's just a free text column. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper and say, let's make it a lookup where they have to choose from a number of options. So I'll go lookup and I'll say, look, the managers are Brian, Susan, and maybe Kathy. So you can put your options in, and I can move Kathy up just using this move up button and put it in a different order. So you can insert rows and delete rows. You can move things up, move things down. But ultimately, I'm going to go close and okay. And now I'm going to insert it. So I created it using custom fields. Now I'm going to right click and insert that column. It was called M for manager, and it tells me it's a variation of text 1. And so now I've got this column called manager. And so what I'll do is I'll say, right, well, Kathy's actually going to be the manager for all of those tasks there. So I'll use the thin black cross and bring it down. Whereas Brian's going to be the manager for those ones there. And so you can create your own columns, and they can just be text columns that they type in, or they can be drop downs, lookups like these are. And maybe I'll put Susan in charge of those. I could make a new column, custom fields, call it maybe text 1, rename it maybe priority, and okay. Oh, already in use. Rank, and okay. Then I'll make it a lookup, and I'll say, look, it's either high, medium, or low. Close, okay. Insert column. R for rank, and now I can say that's actually a low priority, those ones are low, these ones are high, and make your own drop downs. Really make it work for you as far as your template goes. Medium, oops, and see, they have to enter something. I couldn't put mead, I have to enter something that's valid. Yeah. You can also do calculations. So for example, I might want a column that grabs the total costs, minuses the invoices, and tells me what the resource or the wages are. So I'll go custom fields again, either through that button or right click, custom fields. This time I'm going to grab one of the cost fields, cost 1. I'll rename it resources, resource cost. I'm trying to keep the name short. Let's abbreviate to res cost, res.cost, and okay. Instead of free form or lookup, I'm going to go for formula. And the res cost is equal to the field, it's a cost field called cost, minus the field, it's a cost field called resource cost, or fixed cost I should say. Total cost minus fixed cost is resource cost. Okay that, okay that, okay that, right click, insert column, R, and there's resource cost there, and right align it. So straight away what this is this is the total cost, 33,500. Of that, 32,500 is resources, so that's the electricians, and 1,000 is an invoice from Ace Plumbing. Think about your template and whether some of the columns need to be hidden, some of the columns need to be given more meaningful names, and whether some columns need to be created either just as type-ins or as calculations or as drop-downs, and really make your template sing as far as being useful to those who have to use it. Now the other thing that's quite handy is also to be able to highlight tasks. I like to highlight summary tasks or highlight completed tasks once the project starts going, but because we're dealing with a template, I'm just going to highlight just the summary tasks. View, and I go highlight. I could say highlight the summary tasks, and there it is there. but I don't like that particularly loud yellow. So now I'm going to go to Gantt chart format, and I'm going to go to text styles, and in text styles I'm going to choose highlighted tasks, and I'm going to change it from that bright yellow to a soft yellow or a soft blue, and I'll go OK. And so that's made it a little bit more palatable. The other thing I'm noticing is the summary tasks now are not bold. So in text styles, go into highlighted tasks, and say highlighted tasks need to be bold as well. So when they're highlighted, they're also bold and OK. Excellent. And as far as cutting the font down, I'm going to go back to text styles. All text is to be, let's go Arial narrow. So make your template in terms of fonts, etc., easy to work with. Arial narrow, maybe 9. So I can see more on the screen. Here we go. And that means I can bring my column widths in and start printing and seeing more on the screen. That naturally needs to be brought in. Bring that in. But I need to bring my bold back as well. So the bold can always be a little bit of an issue, but once you've done this, it's done. You can also hide maybe this column here, task mode, because we don't need to see that as such, unless we're querying whether it's been changed to a pin. That's better. Text styles, summary tasks. Oh, yeah, summary tasks need to be bold. And highlighted tasks also need to be bold. So think about your text styles, critical tasks as well. Let's have a look at those. So when we're on the Gantt chart format, we might want critical tasks to automatically appear red. So I've just turned on my critical tasks. That's a good idea as well as far as your template goes. Turn on your critical tasks. You may decide you want to use some of these Gantt chart styles, but I actually prefer to do my own bar styles. So I'm going to go into Format Bar Styles. I'll decide that any tasks should be a darker blue than that. So I'm going to go for a darker blue. There it is there. And OK. And so that's affected that. Go into Format Bar Styles and make your critical tasks. So you've got to find those in here. There they are there. Your critical task might be more of a bolder red than that. So I'll go there. And so there's my critical task there. You can do any sort of formatting that you want with your bar styles in here. You may decide that your summary tasks, which are these here, should have a different shape on each end. Maybe that shape on that end and that shape on that end. And maybe they should have some text on the left, right, top, bottom, or what have you of the task. So I might actually put on the left, I might choose to show the actual task name. So I'll press N for name and OK. And so you're actually seeing the name of the task, summary task 2, on the left of each of the summary tasks. And so there's enter job number there. So if I did start using this template and I said this is job 1, 2, 3, then job 1, 2, 3 would show there. And I'll just go undo. So whatever they enter in these will go on the left of those. So you can completely customize the look of each of the bars in terms of symbols and colors, but also you can customize what text it shows on the left, right, top and bottom and inside of each one as well. Really powerful. So your template looks just the way you want it to. Ultimately, you then want to perhaps set the start date of the project. So when people start using this project, actually, let's just save the project file, save it, and let's just conclude that this template is finished. We've created our template. So I've saved it. Now I'm going to close it, file close, and let's just talk about how people use it. And we'll do that in the next step. All right, so we've created our template. So how do we actually use our template? I've closed project and opened it again. And I'm thinking, right, I need to create a project plan for a 24-hour shut and I want to use the template I spend a lot of time creating, I would simply go File and Open. When you go File and Open, Project has a memory of the files that you were working on today or older than today. And here's my 24-hour template. So all I've got to do is click it and open it. And that's how you create a project based on a template. But if it's something that I'm going to use regularly, I may actually even pin it. If I hit this little pin, then it will never drop off the list. It will remain pinned at the top of this list. And that's a handy thing. So I might decide, right, I need to create a 24-hour project. So I go, so let's go back a step. So I go File, I go Open, I see it's pinned, I click it, and it creates a brand new project called Project 2 based on my template. So now all I do is say, right, well, this project is going to start 2 months from now. So I go into Project in the ribbon and I move the project 2 months from now. And I say, right, this is going to start on the 8th of July. And I choose the 8th of July. Let's make it a Monday, so the 10th of July. And okay. And it literally picks up the project and moves it to the 10th of July. So when you make your template, with every day that then passes, that template ages and it remembers when you made it. So when you open up the template, don't freak out that it's getting older. We all are. Just go to Project and move Project and move it forward or backwards or to whatever date or time is relevant for that particular shutdown. So I've moved mine to the 10th of July. I could easily just choose Move Project and say actually move it to next year. I'm going to put it January the 1st or 15th or 16th. So January the 16th, and maybe I was starting earlier at 6 a.m. January the 16th, next year at 6 a.m. and okay. And it's literally just shifted that project template and moved it to there. Then all I do is start changing things. So if I need to investigate something, I'll put that in here, investigate. And it just updates it. And if this is also in the first row, this is job, because I like to call my projects after the job, 1166523-version 1. So that's my job number, that's my investigate, that's my examine, that's my isolate, what have you. And then within that, I may decide I don't need shift spacebar, I don't need shift down arrow, those rows there, so delete. And so then you just start modifying. Delete rows you don't need. Insert key, rows you do need. So I need to investigate paper machine 1. I need to start with this, and I'll indent that. Task, indent. So I'll start here, then do this, then do this, oops, do something else, done. So then I select that row and I delete it. Now that should be indented, so they're underneath that. And so just start editing it. And then I say, oh, well, this actually should take 5, 6, 10, 2. And start changing the durations. Start editing the names, changing the durations, and even deciding who's going to be managing that. Brian's going to be managing all of that. And just start using your template. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos. I really want to help you create 24-hour templates. My name is Kathy Barker. Please like or subscribe, and I hope you have enjoyed this, and we will continue to make more videos to help you. Thank you. Bye bye. Ka kite.